Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Regular viewers will know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, today we're taking a look at another Fuji product, the Fuji 18-135 X-mount lens for their Fuji APS-C cameras, the X-range cameras such as the X-T3, X-T2, X-Pros, X-H1, etc, etc. We actually went out on Friday to the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford to actually test this lens fitted to my Fuji X-H1. And the X-H1 is, I think, is quite underrated. Not many people talk about it these days. It's a phenomenal camera. It really is a phenomenal camera. I've got quite a few Fuji cameras, anyone would know that. But I've recently got the X-T3, which I love, and that's filming my close-up shot that you see here, or sort of medium close-up shot, with my Fuji 40-150 f2.8 Pro lenses fitted to that. But on the other wide camera is my Canon XC10. I mean, I've got a couple of other Sony cameras filming the other shots. But I love the Fuji X-H1, and there's two major factors I fitted this lens to the X-H1 as opposed to the X-T3. One of them is I love the grip. I just love walking around with that grip. It's comfortable, it's just a real joy. I find the handling of the X-H1 a lot more comfortable. Well, maybe not a lot more comfortable, but more comfortable than the X-T3. But secondly, and this was a fundamental reason, the X-H1's got in-body image stabilization. So coupled with the image stabilization on the lens, because the lens has got OIS, it's got optical image stabilization, it's got a little switch on the side for that. And it means I could shoot really, really slow shutter speeds, of which you'll see some of the images. So the lens itself is a reasonable bulk, and it's reasonably heavy, which is quite nice actually. But that's basically effectively the lens, and you can see it's a bit bulkier than the 18-55, but it covers a much better range, and that's what I'll go into now as to why I actually use it. As for the 18-55, you may or may not be able to see this is a lot heavier, it's a lot more compact, but it doesn't cover the range that the 18-135 covers. So it's a much more versatile lens as a one-only lens. As an example, when we went to Oxford, had I not taken this lens, I may have wanted to take, let's put it back on so we don't get dirt on the elements. Put it back on here. If I hadn't have taken this lens, I may have wanted to take at least two other lenses. Obviously the 18-55, which is obviously this one here, and possibly something like the 55-200. And that's, as you can see, once that's extended, that's a beast. But this one lens, although this doesn't go up to 200, but this one lens has pretty much negated the need to cart around to additional lenses, and that was a big selling point for me. I did want something that was more versatile. You do sacrifice image quality, well, apparently you sacrifice image quality a wee bit, but I haven't noticed that. I mean, I've heard one or two comments online saying that, yeah, the image from here, this lens isn't going to be as sharp as some of the other lenses. Well, that goes without saying. It's a much more affordable lens, and it is a compromise. Anything with a long zoom range like this is going to be a compromise, unless you're spending a lot of money. For example, like I did on the 40-150, there's no compromises with that lens. It's an f2.8 throughout its entire range. And that's the other thing with this lens, is the aperture range is, and consult my, where are we? Yeah, it's f3.5, but it goes down to f5.6. So, you know, you really, particularly at f5.6, when you're in at 135 mil, you are compromising very much in low light, and you can see it extends quite a bit. It doesn't make it quite such a compact lens. So it's not internal zoom in. The zoom lens does actually the barrel does move according to where it is in the range. So at f3.5, it is by no means the fastest lens, but if you fitted it to something like the XH1, then that's no big deal, because you can shoot at much slower shutter speeds and still get a really sharp image. I mean, there's images on here that I've shot at, you know, like 1/15 of a second. What was that shot at? Yeah, that's a classic example. 1/15 of a second, that was. 1/15 of a second. And I still got really nice, crisp images, you know. I mean, that is nice and crisp. You know, so that's why I fitted it to the XH1, so I could make use of both the image stabilization in the body and actually what's in the lens. Haven't tried it on the X-T3 because that hasn't got in-body image stabilization. You're reliant on the lens. I'm pretty confident I wouldn't be able to get down to 1/15 of a second on the X-T3. Very confident I wouldn't be able to do that. On here, this, I can go around one lens on here knowing that it will handle it, you know. 24 megapixel sensor, so it's still, you know, a really, really good sensor. And it's a really good camera. So, you know, so I'm not worried about the fact that it only goes down to f3.5, and it isn't a constant aperture, just like the, well, pretty much most of their lenses, unless you're spending money on their pro lenses. As again, going back to the 40 to 150, which film in this close-up shot, that's a constant f2.8. These are variable apertures on the 18 to 55 and the 55 to 200. But what a palaver carrying this lot around, you know, when you only need to stick one lens on and it does it all. And the image quality is more than acceptable. You know, I guess if you're a pro, you might find it not acceptable, but even then I don't think you will. I mean, how many of us realistically are going to really crop in 100%? You know, on a 1-to-1, let's have a look. Yeah, that's 100%. How many of you are really going to crop an image that tight? All this pixel peeping nonsense, I think, is to some extent, you know, a bit of a nonsense. I mean, look, that's 1/15 of a second. You know, shame I can't get it straight, but hey ho. But you know, how many of us are going to crop that so tight that you're going to crop in 1-to-1? I think it's a load of crap. You're not going to, are you? You know, and how many of us actually print images anyway? I can't remember the last time I printed an image. But anyway, that's not making an excuse for the fact that lenses should be poor. They should be good. This lens represents exceptional value for money on, I believe, all the Fuji cameras. Just be conscious. If you're going into low light, you might suffer a bit, unless you've got like the XH1. So the actual range in 35mm terms, let me just get this completely right, I've printed off Fuji's website, is 27 to 206mm in 35mm terms. 27 to 206. Isn't that a fantastic range? And it isn't incredibly heavy. You know, I'm really delighted with what this lens can do. As I say, if you see it on its own, it's got the aperture ring around the actual on the actual lens, which is tremendous. You can also adjust the apertures on the bodies of some of the Fuji cameras, but it's a nice click. It's a nice solid click on the lens, and you've got a nice, really solid zoom control and a really lovely focus ring. I've actually not, to be fair, I say it's a lovely focus ring. I've never done any manual focusing with it, so I can't really say what the manual focus of this lens is like. I suspect it's probably as good as the other Fujis, but it is a good, comfortable ring. It's not a tiny little focus ring. It's a really good, solid focus ring on here. As I say, aperture ring. The apertures are not marked, probably because it's a variable aperture, so it'd be silly to mark it because it wouldn't make any sense. It's an XF lens, the XF 18 to 135. You've got on here image stabilization. I just leave it on all the time. I'm not sure why I would want to turn it off. Possibly if you've got it on a tripod, you won't need it on. But yeah, so that's a little switch on the side there for the optical image stabilization, and your manual aperture control. Manual and auto is there, and that's basically the lens. You know, very, very nicely made, as all Fuji equipment is, and it'll probably stay on me X-H1, maybe not permanently, but it will be a lens that I always take out with me, and it'll be my standard sort of kit lens, as it were, for when I'm going out and about. And I'll probably fit my Fuji 10-24 on the Fuji X-T3 and keep that on there when I'm going out and about, and that covers right from 10mm, which is effectively 15 in 35mm terms, right through to 207, and I'm covered, you know. So there we go. That's for Fujifilm XF 18-135 lens. Very, very pleased with it. The images, as I say, are great. I'm delighted with the images. That's why I'm going to use it as my standard lens, because I'm very happy with the images, both outdoors in good light and indoors in low light. So there we have it. Thanks very much for watching this channel, and thanks very much for watching this review. I do hope you find these useful. I enjoy doing them, and if you do, please hit the like button, tell all your friends, and share it. It'd be great if you do, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks very much. Bye for now. If you ever get a chance to visit Oxford, you must visit the Ashmolean. It's a great museum. Really, really interesting. We've had a great time in there.